Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com. And today I want to tell you to slow down. Slow down while you're recording. Please don't rush the recording process. I want to give you a big reason why. If you rush the recording process, mixing at best, it'll just take you a long time and still turn out good. More than likely, it'll take you a long time and just sound like poo. And the reason why is because when you rush the recording process, you generally don't make the best decisions. And what you're left with is just average at best tracks. And then now you're looking for every kind of technique, every kind of crazy plugin, every kind of editing trick in the book to breathe life and balance and tone into your lifeless, rushed recording job. And I can speak to this because I've been doing this for years. That was my MO forever, and it's still my default. I like to move quickly. I don't like to get bogged down in details. And what I have found is that when I record quickly, my mixes suffer. When I record slowly and take my time, my mixes turn out better, and I can mix faster, which I'm a big fan of. Now, I was recently reminded of this when I spent a couple of days in Nashville last week. Something really cool coming down the pipeline, partnering with my buddy Jacquire King, 3-time Grammy winning producer. He's worked with Kings of Leon and Norah Jones and James Bay and Daughtry, a bunch of other people. But we're doing something really cool together. More about that in a few months. But I was working on this project with him, and I mostly was checking in on how it was going. But I got to actually be the talent for a day and get my song produced and sing and play guitar and play bass. And it was fun to kind of be in Jaquire's new studio and sit under his direction, as it were, for the day. Now, anytime I work with a legit producer in a legit studio, I'm always reminded of how the pros go slow when they record. Let me give you a couple of examples to paint the picture of what I mean by going slow, because this might encourage you and give you some ideas of what you can do when you're recording your next project. To begin with, let's start with the vocals, for example. When it came time to track the vocals, we didn't just grab his favorite mic and start recording some takes. He set up 3 microphones that he thought might be a good fit. Now, if you only have 1 microphone, don't be discouraged. It's okay. You only have 1 microphone. That's all right. Use what you have. But if you have 2, you can do this, or 3. Even if they're all budget microphones, consider the concept and the philosophy behind what Jacquire did. I go in the vocal booth. He's got 3 mics set up. One's a tube condenser, one's a dynamic, and the other was a condenser. Might have been a solid state condenser. Either way, we have 2 condensers and a dynamic. Very different price ranges as well. And so what he wanted me to do was sing a little bit of a verse and a chorus into each microphone, and he recorded each one. So I stood in front of one and I sang, stood in front of the other and I sang. And actually, we got levels first. He made sure he got a good level, and then we recorded and captured a good performance out of each one. And then as I stood in the vocal booth, him and his assistant engineer just sifted through all 3, and I would hear it back in my headphones. And they took their time deciphering which of those microphones they thought sounded best on my voice. They were for sure discarding one of them. And so it kind of came down to 2, which is funny that they both sounded really, really good. One was only a $300 microphone, by the way, and one was over $1,000 easily. And they both sounded good. So then I re-recorded on both of those just one more time to decide between the 2. And then he kind of had an idea of what he thought was best. He asked me what I thought was best. This took a while, maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. And we finally decided on the tube condenser microphone. And we thought, you know what, both sound good in the verse, but this one sounds best in the verse and the chorus. And so I think it's going to really hold up and present your voice in the best way possible. So we spent our time deciphering which microphone of the 3 he just chose, and he has more, but he just chose 3, would be the best fit for my voice. This is amazing because now we need to do less EQ when we come time to mix, because we've already matched a good microphone to my voice. So for you, if you have at least 2 microphones, put both of them up. Put both of them up and sing into both of those, record a little bit of the same section, and then listen back. You don't have to have them up at the exact same time. Yeah, some people do that. You can just do separate performances. We're not trying to be scientific here. We're just trying to listen back to the same type of vocal performance on the same words on 2 different microphones and see which one represents our voices better. I have a vocal mic shootout video that I did a while back. You can watch that, where I sang into 4 microphones at 4 different price points, and you can sort of see that in action. Not only did we pick the best microphone for my voice. Once we nailed down that microphone, he ran that same microphone through 3 different preamps. Now, again, if you only have one preamp in your audio interface, this is not an option for you, but maybe you have a second preamp, or maybe you have an Apollo style interface that has preamp emulations and you can cycle through different preamp emulations. Or if you have like the Focusrite Claret range, they have 2 preamp styles built into one, so you could flip back and forth with the regular preamp or the one with the air switch. And so we've already nailed down the right mic. Now we're seeing what that mic sounds like on different preamps. We tried, a Neve, we tried an API, and then we tried his just console preamp. And it turns out that the API sounded best on my voice. Now the brands don't matter. The point is he had some really good options and he didn't make an assumption. He said, let's just test it and see what pairs nicely with that mic and your voice. That took some time as well. After we did that with the preamp, we picked the tube condenser mic, the API preamp. Then he wanted to test 3 different compressors because he, like most people, like to record vocals through a compressor on the way in. So we tried an LA2A, we tried a distressor, and then we tried a stay level, which is another style of compressor. And so we ran a recording through all 3 to see which compressor sounded best on my voice through that mic, through that preamp. And you can do this if you have multiple compressors on the way in, but you can also do this with plugins. I've done a whole video here on why you can and should record through plugins. What I mean is you record a little bit of your voice into your DAW, then you pull on a compressor or an EQ as a plugin, and you can cycle through settings and plugins and see what sounds best on your voice. And then since so many of these plugins and so many of these audio interfaces are Thunderbolt these days with really low latency, you can actually leave that compressor on and record through that compressor and monitor in real time with 0 to little latency. And you can actually benefit from a plugin compressor without needing DSP. So it'd be the same thing as auditioning a few different plugin compressors to see which one sounds best on your voice. This took time before we ever actually sang or recorded a darn thing. So taking your time to match the right mic, the right preamp if that's an option, and certainly the right compressor and the right compressor plugin. The reason why he wanted to do this was because he wanted a finished product. That's his mantra, is make it sound finished on recording day. That way, when it comes time to mix this song, he's going to pull up my vocal track and it's not going to sound flat or okay. It's going to sound almost finished, which means mixing is going to go a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more fun, and he can focus on more balance issues and less of breathing life into a vocal track. Okay, another way Jacquire didn't rush the recording process, and another way that you and I tend to rush the recording process, is he made sure we played the performance until it was good. We didn't just record one take and call it a day. We didn't just record 2 or 3 blind takes and call it a day. We recorded a couple of takes of things, whether it was my vocals or I played bass along with the drummer or I played guitar, but we did a lot of punching in when necessary until it was right. He was critically listening and being honest about my performance, saying, you know what, I really think the tone is good, and I think this picking part on the guitar is good, but I think you rushed it a little bit here, or I think it could have been cleaner here, or there was a little bit of string noise here. I mean, he was hearing little teeny things. When I thought it was a pretty decent performance, he would push me a little bit more. I think you can do better. I think you can do better. Now, you have to know as a producer, or if you self-produce, where that limit is, because you could keep punching in and keep recording, but it doesn't mean it's going to get better. The producer's job and the engineer's job is to know the artist that he or she is producing and to know, okay, if I do 10 more takes, it's not going to get any better. Or if I do 2 more takes, I think we can get a little bit better. That takes wisdom and experience and understanding the vibe of a person in the studio. But he critically listened and he took his time with our performances. It took longer than maybe I would have done it because he wanted it to be right. He didn't want to have to edit that performance later. He wanted it to be played right, sung right, in tune, in pitch. We literally had to go back and re-record 1 little word or 2 little words in a phrase because I was flat every time on this. He's like, everything is good, but you sing these 2 words a little flat. Let's just punch in and sing them on key. So you don't have to tune it later. What a concept. So take your time with your performances. Don't just get the mic right, get it sounding right, get your chain right, and then, hey, look, let's just play it a couple times and call it a day. Challenge yourself. Be precise. Do your best work. Punch in if necessary. Take it again. Take a break. Maybe come back the next day. I do this with vocals. When I've sung a few songs, my voice is getting tired. It's okay, it's passable, but I don't want okay or passable. I want as good as I can get it. And I know if I come back the next day, my voice will be fresh and I'll re-sing it and we'll get a better performance. This is the way to think about recording. Take your time with the signal chain. your capture device, meaning choose the right microphone for the job. If you only have one microphone, put it in the right place. Maybe there's a better place in your room to record your vocals or your acoustic guitar. In Jacquire's live room, he said to me that they have 3 or 4 places that they like to set up the drum kit depending on the sound they want to go for. Like, he's identified which area of the live room sounds more like a rock and roll drum set and which area sounds more like a jazz drum set. Now, this is strange because it can be the same drum set, but the way the sound interacts with the room, he's identified the best place in the room to record. This takes time. And there's something about taking your time to get the right signal chain, the right components, maybe even to the right plugins in the right part of your room, at the right mic placement, the right technique before you ever hit the record button. And then finally, taking your time producing yourself or producing an artist, if that's what you're doing, to not just settle for the first or second or third takes, but to critically listen and say, look, I think most of the take was good, but we're struggling in the same spot here. This could be better. This could be a little tighter. This could be a little more on pitch. Whatever the case may be, listen critically to yourself, to your artists, to your bandmates. Don't take forever, because at some point you're going to wear out your talent and make them antsy, and you don't want to lose that spark of creativity. But don't rush, because what you'll be left with once you take your time and you do it right is a much more finished sounding recording that I promise you will mix so much easier. Like I always say, record as if the mixing phase doesn't exist, as if this is all you got. So take your time and get it right. Now, before you go, I want to give you something. As you're seeing, each step of the production process affects the next step down the line. If you record sloppily or rushed, it affects editing, it affects mixing, it affects mastering. And then before you get to recording, you actually also have to backtrack and get the arrangement just right. And even before the arrangement, you have to write a compelling song that actually is appealing and is actually going to translate well in a recording. There's actually these 6 distinct steps in the production process. We usually tend to think about recording and mixing only. Maybe we think about mastering, but there's 6 steps and they're all as equally important and they all affect each other. And so what you see if you analyze any good song or production or spend any time in the studio is you see this 6-step path and you see how they affect each other, and you see how if you tee it up well in step 1, step 2 becomes easier, step 3, all the way down to step 6, so it spits out at the end of the process what you release on Spotify or Apple Music or sell as a CD or whatever. That can sound its best when you've gone through all 6 steps and you've done them all well. So what I've done is try to distill all 6 steps and make it as easy to understand as possible. So I put it together in a simple guide that I call my 6 steps to a radio ready song guide, because that's the standard. Whether radio exists in 10 years or whether your song's on the radio or not isn't the point, but stuff that's played on the radio sounds good. It's a certain quality level. It's been signed off by labels and A&R people and mastering engineers and everybody. It sounds good. I want my stuff to sound that good wherever it's played. And so to get my song to sound radio ready, I can't skip any steps. And neither can you. As you see, everything we do affects the next step down the line. So what I want you to do is download this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you. Read it, because downloading it's not going to help you, but read it, apply it. So when you've got a new song idea, you don't just jump into recording this thing and then jump into messing around with plugins and then trying to release this thing. You actually look at the 6 steps, you look at that linear path, and you follow them in order. I've got a bunch of tips and tricks and best practices for each step in this guide. So it's really going to hold your hand through the whole process to ensure that you get the best sounding track possible out of your studio before you release it to the world, so that you feel pretty darn good about it. So it's a free gift. Just go to radioreadyguide.com. I'll put the link here, radioreadyguide.com. It's a free PDF download. It shouldn't take you long to read, but I created it as a reference for you that you can hold on to. Keep it on your tablet, keep it on your phone, print it out if you're old school like me and have it on your desk or wherever you make music. That way, when you have a song idea, just pull it up, take a look at where you are in the process, and go from there. It's all at radioreadyguide.com. Thanks for downloading it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it really helps you out. And thanks for watching these videos. And thanks for subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you on another video real soon.